Karen Charbonneau, Saratoga Home Team and the Miranda Real Estate Group, here to talk to you today about the pleasure I had recently aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is an aircraft carrier for the United States Navy, as part of the Leaders at Sea program. We took off from Chambers Air Force Base, and these are the airmen that prepped us to get us ready, putting on our headgear for our flight out to the USS Abraham Lincoln. Here is our plane. It is a C-2 Greyhound, which lands on top of the aircraft carrier, which was pretty amazing. We are getting into the plane, and you can see the seats are on the tight side. The headgear was even tighter. There are two small windows. I was fortunate enough to sit next to one of those two small windows, taking off from Norfolk, some of the ships in port. And every time I had the chance, you can see how tight the quarters are here. Every time I had the chance, I'd get my camera in front of that porthole and see if we were landing or the aircraft was close. And before I knew it, we were on board landing. It was a 2-hour flight, but here we are landing. You can see all of the men and women on top of the aircraft carrier. It was wonderful to see. Every single different color is a different purpose. They have a different job on board the aircraft carrier. For the flight crew and the fueling and everything. Up at the Navy Tower, you can see how close everything is, all these planes and everything. Being welcomed by the CO and the XO. On the back you can see the screen that shows the aircraft carrier, the top of it, going through some things that we needed to know about. And being called the Abraham Lincoln, they had a lot of memorabilia about Abraham Lincoln. It was wonderful to see how much they take Abraham Lincoln and the naming of the ship to heart, and where it's shown all over the ship. So back up on deck, see the planes are coming off over the end of the deck. That's how tight things are. These are one of the cables. There are four. They're set 40 feet apart to catch the plane as it's landing, with little springs to help hold it up so the hook can catch it. Here's a plane coming in. Now we're going to see the catapult system. Here is a plane actually connected to the catapult, a little bit close up here. So now we're connected, and I believe it's 2 seconds to get from 0 to 140 miles an hour. I believe those are the numbers. We can see how tight everything is here. Now we're up top talking to the CO, very relaxed, talking to us, watching the flight deck. I did have the chance to sit in the commander's chair. I believe this was the navigation room, where they're looking at everything. This is from the navigation room, seeing the flight deck and where all the planes are and the helicopters, where everything is. And now we're going to see in the next one, I believe we're going to see, we're still at the flight deck, a helicopter taking off. Wonderful to see all of this. This is the handler. This is where every single aircraft is, and this guy did not stop moving his hand the entire time we were there. Here's Mr. Lincoln, and when they're at land, they bring Mr. Lincoln out and put him on land, I believe on land, when they are at port. But this is down below where the storage is, where some of the maintenance is done. Plane without the engines in it being taken to the engine room. This is one of the elevators that brings the planes from down below up above. So that's an elevator that you're seeing right there. I'm there with Dave Cummings and Saratoga Mayor Meg Kelly. This is our dinner, the first evening. It was great to see all 12 of the people in the Leaders at Sea program sitting at one table. And the back of the chairs, everything was wonderful. On the flight deck, the crew looks for debris, which is what you just saw. They're getting ready, maintenance. Again, we're still looking for debris, make sure nothing is on the aircraft carrier for planes landing. Again, Mr. Cummings on top, up top. And some of the crew doing their job, making sure everything's working. These are the I believe they're called arresters, so that when the jet's taking off, the flame is stopped. Some of the night you can see the flames in the back of this. This is a plane that was landing, and so here we have landing. The previous one was catapult. Here's our stateroom. Beautiful quarters for us to be in. This is one of the mess halls on board. The brig, we weren't able to take pictures, but we could take a picture of that. Here's the medical facility, the hospital that's on board. Everything's tight but compact. This is the dentist office. Here's the machine shop. If they can make it on board, they do make it on board. And the jet shop, there's a engine that you see off to the left there. Some of the racking system that they use for other engines if they have more than one out. Here's the back of the jet shop where they bring the jets out to this area to test them before they put them back in a plane. You can see the propulsion down below. Here's looking down to the propulsion, which is moving the ship. The pilot's briefing room, one of the rooms in the chapel. And here is some of the equipment that's used to create the propulsion for the catapult system. We had some daytime activities, firing that was happening. There are 3 helicopters. Actually, here's where some of the missiles are coming up from below, being loaded to a plane. But the helicopters going out and setting, you'll see this is actually where they're doing some live ammunition shooting, target practice. So that's what the smoke is in the distance, and balloons marking the location of where they're firing to. The front of the ship is where the anchor is. Here's one of the anchors that go down to hold the ship in place when it's at sea. This is the front of the ship, looking down out of that hole that they just opened, that door that they just opened. And everything is about Abraham Lincoln. It's wonderful to see how much information is there for those that wanted to read it, to honor Abraham Lincoln, President Lincoln. CO and XO posing for a photo with us just before we left. This is the wonderful crew that helped us around. And as we are departing, getting our headgear back on the flight deck, and all 12 of us at the Leaders at Sea program, and a plane landing in back of us. Absolutely wonderful to see the men and women. Age was under 21 years old, and how wonderful they treated us, to see them working together to get a mission accomplished. It is a mini city with a purpose, and everything was wonderful to see how things were working and they were improving and getting better as they were practicing and training for their next mission. I feel honored and pleasured to be part of the Leaders at Sea program. Thank you to the Navy for having this program. It was absolutely fabulous to see our country in action. Thank you.